What do you say when you first roll out of bed in the morning? There's a radio station, 106 FM, that decided that just for fun, the disc jockeys would have a contest. And the contest would be when you're the third caller, share with the radio what you say the first thing when you roll out of bed in the morning. So they kicked off this great contest, and first Monday morning, the third caller they got sounded a little groggy and said, "Do I smell coffee burning?" The next day a person was a little sleepy and said, "Late for work, beep, 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 beep." Third one was a happy person, "Another beautiful day." And then the next one came, or the next day they came on, and the guy said, "Honey, did I leave the dog out last night?" There was this pause. You could almost envision him swinging out of bed. And then beep, beep, beep. And then the next day, the announcer says, "You're the third caller. What did you first say when you got out of bed?" "Shema, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is Lord alone. Therefore, you shall love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your strength, and your neighbor as yourself." Poor radio announcer was like, awkward pause, and then he's like, "Sorry, must have had the wrong number," and went immediately to a commercial. But that Shema, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is Lord alone. Therefore, you shall love the Lord your God with your whole heart, your whole mind, your whole soul, and your whole strength, and your neighbor as yourself, is the traditional Jewish prayer that Jews are challenged to pray each morning, first thing, and each evening. And in calling to mind the God in their life. And then again is based, as we heard in the first reading, when Abraham's giving the instruction before they cross over into the Holy Land, to remember that Israel is the Lord our God, and to love him with your whole heart, mind, soul, and strength, and your neighbor as yourself. That's a traditional prayer that the Jewish people begin with, and I want to challenge us to see that in our lives too, and to ask ourselves today, how are we living that out? When we look at loving the Lord our God with all our heart, do we truly do that? I was talking with someone this past week, and they were talking about love and the love of God. How much time should you spend loving God? I said, I don't know. How much time do you spend in loving and in conversation with the closest friend in your life, your spouse or a dear friend? How many minutes a day or whatever time do you spend with that? Maybe that should be our challenge in spending time with God. Talked about loving with all our soul. Is our soul cleansed and ready and clear? Have we gone to confession to really cleanse our soul, to really be present to our God? Because I really believe it's from the soul that the conscience kind of follows that. Is our conscience open to God? And our challenge this week may just well be on Tuesday when we go to vote. Are we voting with our soul, with our love of God in mind? Number 3, loving God with all our mind. How many minutes or moments a day do we pour something about God into our minds? Maybe it's something we're reading, maybe it's something we're thinking, maybe it's something we're listening to. How much time do we spend loving God with our mind, filling God with our mind? In the 4th area, heart, soul, mind, and strength. Strength, one way to look at that is that's the heavy lifting. The lifting of the words and actions. When I speak, when I do something for someone else, am I acting, am I responding out of the love of God? Or is it a selfishness, or that I don't do it is not loving God at that moment? But to challenge ourselves with all our strength. Are we really loving God? And then loving our neighbor also. We believe if we step back and look at that, we're probably challenged by that. Are we fully loving God with heart, mind, soul, strength, and also loving our neighbor? Perhaps we attempt at it and we work at it, but today's challenge is to really go wholeheartedly at it. An example of that would be this past week on my birthday. I got a birthday card, and the card said, a picture of a guy holding up a glass of water and saying, "Is the glass half empty or half full?" Half empty or half, on the inside of the card it said, "Pour out the water and fill it with beer." So I ask you to look at your life in God, loving God with heart, mind, and soul and strength. Is it just half full of water? I say pour it out and fill it with God here in our song and in our worship and in our Eucharist and in our life, and take and drink fully from it all week long. So let's ponder for a moment. Let us pray with our Jewish brothers and sisters. Shema, hear, O Manitowoc, the Lord our God is Lord alone. Therefore, love the Lord your God with your whole heart, your whole mind, your whole strength, and your whole soul, and love your neighbor as yourself.